Yes, and we are live. Excellent. Back once again. Wonderful. Okay. Several things. Just kind of moving forward a little bit. Number one, I got to update my calendar here. We are in the last few days of March, and then obviously we'll be out for a week with spring break. Oh, I hear myself. Why do I hear myself? I thought I turned down that volume. Goodness gracious. That's what happens on a Monday morning. I just wanted the live stream open up at my desk. It's all I wanted. Lower that volume. There we go. That should take care of it. Good. Now, you guys had an assessment due for me last Friday. Unfortunately, I have not been able to look at them just yet. Got a little delayed with a lot of other stuff. If you did not turn that in, please make sure that you do so I can get those grades updated as soon as humanly possible. We are coming up to the end of the marking period. Changing my date on this thing. What is today, the 29th? Oh my word, it's the 29th. There we go. Nailed it. We are coming up to the end of the marking period, but keep in mind the following. The marking period technically comes to an end on Thursday the 1st. But we have a week off because spring break. Teachers are not required to click the submit button on grades until April 15th. So even though, and for those of you in the live stream, you can't see this because I'm putting it on my calendar right now. I'm just marking off the spring break days. There we go. Excellent. I'll throw in the 11th as well because that's a Sunday. There we go. But teachers are coming. I mean, obviously, we're all coming back on the 12th, but then teachers don't have to click submit until the 15th, which is nice, which means we have a little bit of wiggle room to kind of get those grades in. Anyway, just wanted to fill you guys in on that. If you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. So far, I only see one comment. Just hoping other people would leave some. And what I would like to do to kind of get started today, I want to refresh you on what we've been doing. I want to add a little bit to it. And then I have a PDF that I'm going to be posting for us to work on today. For you guys in the classroom, I actually have the physical worksheet for you to work on because it's a little bit easier with the physical worksheet. But for those of you online, at least you'll have the PDF. If you do not already have them out, I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. Let's see how this thing's going. Theme music, walking to my desk. There we go. All right. And I want to flip this screen over. Come on, screen. Flip over. Excellent. There we go. Zoom out. Good. So, last week, I introduced to you the concepts of circuits and paths. A path is nothing more than some kind of ordered direction through these graphs that we've been doing. So just kind of as a recap, I'm going to create some kind of graph here, some kind of a system of graph. So let's just see, this is a path/circuit recap. And then I am going to build upon that concept. So, I don't know. I could have 4 vertices. Let's just call them A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. I'm making this one up. It doesn't really reflect anything. I'm just kind of throwing it together. Let's say that A connects to B connects to D. let's say that now all D connects to C. I'm not going to have them all connect perfectly. I'm going to have a few extras kind of floating around. Let's say that A connects to C. And for the sake of argument, let's say that B connects to C. And let's say that there is an additional connection between C and D here. There we go. That's what my graph looks like. It's really kind of messed up, but I have all of these wonderful connections going on here with A, B, C, and D. There are 4 vertices. There are, I don't even know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines connecting these vertices as we've defined them. And now I can talk about a path and a circuit. Well, first of all, a path is just anything that kind of goes through the graph. I could just be like, all right, A, B, D, C, B. There's a path for you right there. And I'm going to draw this one on the board. I'm going to go up and draw this in a little marker. But this is just an example of a path. Just some random path that we got going on here. I don't know. I'm going from A to B to D to C. Doesn't matter which C I take because they're both connecting to C. And then back to B. There's a path. I don't actually have to hit every single thing in a path. A path is just some beginning to end direction through the graph. That's all that it really is. I'm going to be talking about very specific special types of paths today. But this is just some random path that I decided to pick. Whereas for a circuit, kind of block this off right here. Here we go. For a circuit, as I defined it for you last week, let me get the exact wording of this. The wording that I did last week for you was basically you had to start and end at the same vertex. You had to start and end at the same vertex. Edges used at most once. That's actually for paths and circuits. You can only use an edge once. You can only use a line once. You can't double back over a line. It's like the bridge problem. You can't go over the same bridge twice. But for a circuit, you got to end up back where you started. So I could actually do that. Well, could I actually do that for the path that I just did? Actually, no, I probably couldn't. Let me go back to this path real quick. Because if I'm going to do this path, the one that I just did, and again, a path is by definition just some kind of direction that you're going through this thing, ABC back to B right there. There's actually no way for me to complete the circuit. If I followed that path and I ended up back at B, well, yes, it's a path, but it's not a circuit, and I can't actually change it into a circuit unless I did some weird shenanigans. Well, let me actually fix that up. I'm not going to change my picture. I'm going to change the order of the letters that I picked. So I could do something like A, B, D, C, A. There we go. There's a circuit. There actually is a complete circuit right there. A, B, D, C, A. A, B, D. Again, it doesn't matter which C I go on. I'll go on this one this time. C, and then all the way around back to A. That is a circuit. With a circuit, you have to end up back where you started. You absolutely have to end up back where you started. But the way that they decided to play the path circuit game in Coensberg was with a rule that you had to go over every single bridge. You had to go over every single edge. Now, for this one right here, I did not go through every single edge. I wonder, is it possible? Oh, I think it is possible. Can you guys figure out a direction or a set of directions that I could go through? It doesn't have to be a circuit. Let's just say it's a path. Can you figure out an order of letters that I would go through in this graph where I would hit every single edge exactly once? There definitely is a way to do that, to get a path. You don't have to end up back where you started. What do you think? Might take a few moments of just kind of like going through it all, but you got to hit every single edge once. I'll give you a hint. Don't start at A. Don't start at A. Hold on. It said B, C, D. Well, here's the thing. You're not hitting these two. You got to hit every single one. B, A, C, D. Keep going. Yeah, that works. Like I said, for a path, you don't have to end up back where you started. You can actually do a path here that hits every single edge exactly once. And like I said, don't start at A. There's a reason for that, which I'll get into the definition of today. But yeah, you hit every single edge exactly once. There was this game, this online game that I played in the last couple of years when teaching discrete math. And unfortunately, I went back to get that game loaded because I wanted to play that game with you guys today. But unfortunately, that website went down, and I have not been able to find it. It was this kids game where you had a frog jumping across lily pads, and you had to hit every edge exactly once in order to pass the level to go to the next level. And I would challenge people in the class to get like the highest score possible because they do time you in that thing. But that website went down, and I have no idea how to find that website again. I've Google searched everything, and it makes me sad that I can't find it. But I will continue looking because I would love, absolutely love, for you guys to play that frog lily pad game again, just simply because it would have been awesome. It would have been awesome. Okay. Now, Leonhard Euler. Leonhard Euler went to the town of Königsberg and was actually able to mathematically prove that the game that they wanted to play was impossible. And then ultimately, he studied the subject of paths and circuits and breathed new life into this basic concept. And now today, there is a special type of path and circuit that is named after him, Leonhard Euler. Euler permeates so many different aspects of mathematics. It's unbelievable how far his reach actually is. But there's a very special type of path and circuit that is named after him. Now, a regular path, like I just said here, here's a regular path example. A, B, C, D, C, B, you know, the one I just did right here, where it's okay, I'm going here to here, to here, to here. Cool. That's a path. Because with a path, there's just what direction are you going through in order to get to the next one. And you can only hit every edge once, or at most once. For a circuit, you got to end up back where you started. But now, for an Euler path and circuit, all edges must be used. All edges must be used. In order for a path or a circuit to be considered an Euler path or an Euler circuit, and yes, I'm pronouncing that Euler because that's how it's pronounced. If you were to do an Euler path or an Euler circuit, you would hit every single edge exactly once, but every single one. Basically what it comes down to. Now, there are theorems that kind of go along with it, but I will get into those theorems in a few moments. Let me redraw this one real quick. This is the one that we just drew on the previous page. I want to have it for the sake of argument and for the sake of conversation. Here we go. This is A, B, C, and D. It's the one that I just drew on the previous page. I can copy down, well, Patrick, you had the path that you just did. What was the path that you did before? I think you started at B, right? B, A, C. I lost the rest of it.
B, A, C, D, C.
Oh, I forgot one more connection. That's what I forgot. Okay, go ahead.
C, D, D.
All right, so hold on, let me try this again. So you did B, A, C, D, C, and then B, D.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that works. Let me zoom in on that. What you're going to find is that it gets a little difficult with like verbalizing it, but then when you write it out, it's like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about when I write it out. It's like, okay, cool. Well, if I'm going to go through this, again, if I'm going to do an Euler path indicates that I have to hit every single edge exactly once. So I'm going to go B, A, to C, to D. Doesn't matter which one I do, but I'm going back to C because there was that extra connection. Up to B, down to D. There is an Euler path. An Euler path would be, well, just some direction that you're going through the graph. But because it's Euler, you would hit every single edge exactly once. Unfortunately, you can't do it from A. You can't do it from A, or is it possible to do it from A? Let me see here real quick. A, C, D, C, D. Yeah, no, it's not possible to do it from A, unfortunately. Because if you started from A and you tried to do a similar direction, watch what ends up happening here. Hold on. So, for example, I'm going to take the path that you just gave me, and I'm just going to shift it over a little bit. I'm going to start from A. So in your path, if I started from A, I would go C, and then D, and then C, and then B, and then D, and then I'd be stuck. I can't get back. There's no way of getting back. I can't get that last edge. So unfortunately, I can't start from A. If I started from A, which is why I told you guys to skip it, I don't believe that it actually is possible. Let me try it a different way from A. If I start from A and let's say go this way, well, look how stuck I am. If I go C, then I have a couple, if I go C, I have a couple directions here. I could go around back to A and I'm stuck. I could go up to B and I'm stuck. Or I can go down to D and I'm stuck. Why am I stuck if I start from A? I told you guys to skip it. Say, don't start from A, start from B. Technically, you could start either from B or you could start from D. But the big question is why? Why? This actually has a theorem that I'm going to be writing down in about a minute or so. There is a theorem that actually shows why, or not, that doesn't show why, but it basically tells you that for this particular graph, you have to start from B or D. What is the definition of the degree of a vertex? Oh, hold on. Sydney says because there are only 2 lines connecting to A. Ooh, interesting. Sydney, the question I was literally about to ask was, what is the definition of a degree? The degree of a vertex. Everybody got that? Huh? If I asked you, what is the degree of vertex A here, what is it? Whew. It kind of has to go with the definition that she just said here. This has been our notes from last Thursday. I'm giving her a moment to see if she'll type it in. Or she's probably looking it up. I don't know. All right, I'll tell you. The degree of a vertex is the number of edges that are connected to it. The number of edges that are connected to it. So, for example, what she typed into the chat, she said, because there are only 2 lines connecting to A. Yes, the degree of A is 2. The degree of B is 3. The degree of C is 4. And the degree of D is 3. Oh, hold on. Is it a 2 or is it the actual degree? Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Her thought was saying the degree like an angle degree, but no, unfortunately, that is, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I should say fortunately. Fortunately, how big or small the angle is has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the number of lines connecting to that vertex. But if you notice, right there, odd degrees. Odd degrees. The way that Euler paths typically work is you need to have exactly 2 odd degrees. And I'm going to show you a few examples of that in a moment. You got to have exactly 2 odd degrees. Then, with those 2 odd degrees, if you want to do an Euler path, you have to start at one of the odd degrees and finish at the other odd degree. Then it is possible to do an Euler path. It may not be perfect. You may mess up at some point. Fortunately, indeed, I do not want to take out my protractor. Of course not. Absolutely not. Let me see. I'm going to draw something here before I give you this definition. See if you guys can't do this one. I want to do a little bit more elaborate one before I actually give you the definition or have that definition written down. Let's see. I want to do, I want to do 6. Okay, so we're going to do 6. Draw this one very carefully. Draw this one very carefully. We're about to do some craziness here. So I got 6 vertices. I'm going to label them A, B, C, D, E, F. Yes. Again, be very careful with how you do these connections. I want to make sure that we have exactly what we need right here. So let's see. I'm going to connect A to a couple of these right there. And yeah, that's good for now. Okay. I'm going to connect B here. I'm not going to add a ton of lines, but I'll double check all of them for you. I'm going to connect E right here. I'm going to connect F right here. And I'm going to connect D. Ah, yes. Okay, good. Yes, right there. Good. I think that should do it. I'm going to double check it, but I want to make sure all these lines work exactly the way that I want them to. Yes, and they work. They absolutely work. Draw this very carefully. Make sure you've hit every single line. I'll double check to make sure that you have every single thing by mentioning the degrees, of course. But this path, or I'm sorry, this graph contains an Euler path. Meaning, this graph, it is absolutely possible for you to go through every edge exactly once. So, A has 3 connected to it. It has a degree of 3. B up here has 4 connected to it. It has a degree of 4. C has 2. D has 4. E has 3. And I know there's a little bit of a glare right there. I may have to move that so you can see the third one right there. But then F has 2. F just has 2. Now, according to the definition that I just gave you, I verbalized it to you. I am going to have to write this one down a little bit. Move this up a little down. There we go. I'm just trying to get the glare out of the thing in the middle. There we go. But by the definition that I just verbalized to you, you can absolutely do an Euler path, but you have to start and end at an odd degree. If you notice, and I'm just going to write these in here, I'll put the degree next to each of them. There are only 2 odd degrees. And because of the 2 odd degrees, you can absolutely do an Euler path. Take a moment, write down the Euler path that you think works, and make sure that you hit every edge exactly once. Just write it down. I'm going to try my own in a little bit. I may try it from a different perspective, but I want to see what you guys do first. Take a moment. All right. If you guys in the chat, if you think you have one, type it into the chat. Just the letters, the order of the letters that you went through. I want to see what you guys got here. Because here they got it up here in the classroom. I want to see what you guys got. I mean, if you got one there, that'd be great. Let me erase these little letters here. Did you start from A? Yeah. Most people would just start from A, knowing that A is an odd degree, just like, yeah, I'll start from A. No big deal, you know. But there's like 3 directions that you can go in. You can go in technically any direction. But again, you got to keep in the back of your mind that, well, if I'm going to do an Euler path, I'm going to have to start at the odd degree A, and I'm going to finish at the odd degree E. Coincidentally, there's no way of doing a circuit. There's no way of doing a circuit for this one. And that's another definition. Oh, she got one. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try that one. I'll try it up here. Okay, hold on. I got the marker right here. Okay. So she says A, B, C, D, E, F. I'll do that first. So A, B, C, D, E, F. And then she says B, D, A, E. B, D, A, E. Yeah, that totally works. That absolutely, yeah, that totally works. Obviously, it's not the only way to do it. Did you have different letters? Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it still worked, right? That's what I'm saying. There's more than one way to go through this. There's more than one way to figure out the Euler path. But by definition, you have to start and end at the only two odd degrees. Sorry, I thought that was an eyeglass case for a minute. And then I realized that it's one of those erasers. So I'm going to say forget that. Anyway, but yeah, it totally works. So let me write down the Euler path. Let me give you the definition. Let's see what we got here. The Euler path. Wait, where'd it go? Should have shown up in my chat. How come it didn't show up in my chat? I just saw it on the computer. Ah. There we go. Well, you know what? I'm just going to take a picture and then come back with it. She clearly had it right there. It just didn't show up in my thing. What the heck? I hate cameras. There we go. That's why they have that. So I can write it down. Let's see what we got here. So what she had was, here is the Euler path that she got, was A, B, C, D, E, F, D, oh, sorry, no, there we go. D, E, F, B, D, A, E. I'll zoom in on that. So you don't see that at the bottom. It's a little bit easier to see what's going on there. Oh, she's a different one. What the heck? She did that one and then she did a different one. She started from E. Yeah, I guarantee you that one works too. Hold on. I'm just gonna visualize that one real quick. So she did E, D, C, B, A, E, F, B, D, A. Yeah. Yeah, of course. That one works as well. This is just one example. There's obviously more than one way to knock out this problem, which is nice, to say the least. All right, here's the definition. Now, obviously, I've verbalized the definition a few times, but I want to make sure that we do have it written down concretely. So this is the Euler path theorem. That's what they call it. I'm going to get a new marker. This one's dead. Come on, marker. Ah. Totally missed. Okay. Let's see. If in a connected graph, that's what they call them, there are exactly two odd vertices. If in a connected graph there are exactly two odd vertices, there has to be two odd vertices. If you have three odd vertices, it's not going to work. If you have one odd vertice, it's not going to work. It has to have exactly two odd vertices. Then Euler path. Then you can have an Euler path. But then there's an additional statement that goes along with it, and I'm going to draw you a few pictures here. Then you have something known as an Euler circuit. Now, in a circuit, you have to start and end at the same location. In a circuit, you have to start and end in the same location. So, in an Euler circuit, if in a connected graph, every vertex is even, has to be even, and has to be every single one of them, then you have what is known as an Euler circuit. And I'll give you a few visual examples of that in a minute. In fact, I just want to double check this one right here. See if this one will work. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I'll do that one in a minute. In fact, you know what? I'm going to pass this out, and then I'm going to post this PDF for everyone so that they can see it. So take a look at that one. I'm going to post the PDF while you guys are finishing this definition right here. Let me freeze the screen. There we go. And let me post the PDF. Where did I save you? Oh, that's right. I saved you on that drive. Okay. Da-da-da-da. Teaching subjects, discrete, Eulerizing, PDF for today. Post. Okay. So for those of you online, I posted the PDF for today. It's the PDF that I just passed out to the people in the classroom. And the title of this little worksheet, I'll unfreeze my graph here. There we go. It's called Eulerizing. It's a fun word to think about, Eulerizing. Obviously named after Euler, Leonhard Euler. But this general concept of Eulerizing is to force either a path or a circuit in a place where they didn't actually exist before. It's a weird kind of concept. So let me see here. Okay. Goodness. My mask is all itchy today. So I first want you to jump down to the last graph, the last one on this worksheet. I'm going to open this one up and kind of zoom in a little bit. Let's see. I want you to go to the last one, F. Oh, come on, you thing. Lumen PDF. There we go. There we go. Load faster. Or, just keep, standing there loading. There it goes. And I'm going to zoom in on this last one right here. Look at that junky thing right there. That's awesome. Look at that. This graph already is an Euler circuit. This already is an Euler circuit. Now, on a graph like this, they don't give you the cues for what each vertex is called. They really don't. You could, if you wanted to, label them. I'm going to label them for the sake of argument so that I can actually figure out the direction of this path. Again, you don't have to, but it's just something that could be helpful. I believe I got them all. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. But if you notice, every single vertex on this thing is even. Every single one is even. Let me think here. The ones in the middle, B, G, H, and E, they all have degree 2. They all have degree 2 because they have 2 edges connected to them. And then A, C, D, and F have degree 4 because they have 4 edges connected to them. With careful planning, and I emphasize careful planning, with careful planning, it is entirely possible to create an Euler circuit with this graph, where you hit every single edge exactly once, and you finish right where you started. A circuit is just starting and stopping in the same place. But an Euler circuit is doing that and hitting every single edge. Let me see what we got here. I'm just going to freehand it, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to strategize here. I'm going to strategize by coming back to A and then leaving, because I know that my last move will be going back into A. There it is. It is entirely possible to do that. It's a weird little game. Again, I wish I had the frog game for you guys. Frogs jumping on lily pads, trying to create Euler circuits and Euler paths. It's a fun little kids game, except they don't call it. Well, actually, no. It's the website. They do call it like an Eulerizing game. I'll have to see if I could. Again, I'm bummed that website dropped that game. It is possible to get stuck if you don't strategize accordingly. If you're just kind of just going in random locations, it is entirely possible that you could get stuck or make a mistake. But I like this one. But the reason why I jumped to this one is because this is the one where you could absolutely get an Euler circuit. Go back to A. Now with A, as it stands right now, you cannot get an Euler circuit with this. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot get an Euler circuit here. But according to the directions on this particular thing, according to the directions on this worksheet, they talk about find the Euler circuits in the following graphs. Well, we found one. It was F. Where necessary, Eulerize using the least possible number of added edges. Eulerize. What the heck is Eulerizing? Which I'm going to give you a definition for, written down in a little bit. But Eulerizing is basically you have to add an edge between two vertices in order to force the graph to be an Euler circuit. You absolutely could. In fact, with this image right here, there is one edge that you can add. Now, obviously, there's more than one answer sometimes. But with this one, you can Eulerize it by adding one edge. Where? This one? This one already has 4. Ooh, if you add an edge there, it becomes 5. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's part of the little strategy there. Yes, this one obviously has a degree of 1. So we need to change that. But if we connect these two, now that's got an edge of 5. Or a degree of 5. In reality, that's the connection we need. That's the connection that we need. Because everything else is even. Everything else is even. But this one was odd to begin with, and this one was odd to begin with. This one had a degree of 1. This one had a degree of 3. But if we connect the two of them, now all of a sudden this has a degree of 2, and this has a degree of 4, and boom, everything's even. An Euler circuit exists. We have Eulerized. We have Eulerized this particular graph. It's a fun phrase to think about, Eulerizing. Now, I want you to think about this. I don't know where are the trash trucks and Barnegat still sitting behind Town Hall? Yeah, aren't they building a new Town Hall? Trash trucks, though. Think about trash trucks behind Town Hall. If the trash trucks go out and collect the garbage and then drop it off wherever at the dump they're supposed to drop it off at, the trucks still have to eventually make their way back behind town hall. You have to end up where you started. So I'm not even kidding. When it comes to routing trash trucks, they have to hit every street in an optimal way where they end up back where they started. That is an Euler circuit where they have to hit every single edge, collect all the trash that they possibly can. Maybe the dump is one of the nodes here, and then maybe they hit the dump a couple of times. Like, I don't know, maybe this was the dump right here. I have no idea. I don't care. But by making this extra connection, you can actually create an Euler circuit, and you can optimize the route of these trash trucks. It sounds like a silly thing, but when it comes down to it, if you optimize the path of these trash trucks, you optimize the number of hours that you're spending on these employees. You optimize the amount of gasoline that you're using within these trucks. You optimize the least amount of time that these trucks are going to be on the road, people smelling the garbage coming out of them. Eulerization is very important towards life. It just is. You could say the same thing with mail trucks. You could say the same thing with snowplow trucks. You could say the same thing with a lot of different things. In fact, these kinds of problems made their way into the modern psyche with something called a traveling salesman problem. You have a traveling salesman who wants to maximize his sales and minimize the amount of time he spends walking around house to house trying to sell his wares. You really have to optimize things. Eulerizing is one of those optimizations. Let me give you a definition. Here we go. Last couple definitions. And then we will work on some of these graphs here. I want to make sure I get the wording right. Come on, you. Come on, you Euler thingy, you. There you are. Okay. Eulerizing. If you have to Eulerize, or Eulerizing in this case, a graph, you basically have to add edges to turn all odd vertices into even vertices, thus creating an Euler circuit. If you Eulerize, you are basically attempting to create an Euler circuit. Again, circuit being that you start and stop in the same location, but you hit every single edge exactly once. Finally, there is this one extra little definition called semi-Eulerizing. Semi-Eulerizing. It is the same as Eulerizing, except you leave two odd vertices, thus creating an Euler path. This is a definition called semi-Eulerizing. If they ever ask you to Eulerize something or semi-Eulerize something, then this is actually what they're asking you to do. They're asking you either to create an Euler circuit by adding these edges, or you're going to do the same exact thing, add edges, but you're going to leave two odd vertices, thus creating an Euler path. And sometimes you can strategize where it's like, okay, well, I want to start and stop at these two vertices. So you purposefully leave those two vertices odd and add edges strategically in order to turn everything else even. But that is semi-Eulerizing. I don't know. I just like it's like a weird kind of routing game. I don't even know. I think I still have this thing. Hold on. Yes, I do. So I'm going to show you something here. See if I can't find the exact page. This is a test that I took in college in 2006, and I kept it for just such an occasion to actually show you how like routing problems like stupidly work. So there's this test where it was like this class called operations research, in which you had to organize how tasks would be done or how routes would be taken care of. And just to give you like a small idea as to what's going on here, check out this stinking route right here. This route that I created, trying to figure out the optimal way in order to bake a lasagna. It sounds like a ridiculous statement, an optimal way to bake a lasagna, but there is a specific order to the things that have to take place in order for the time to be minimized in order to bake this lasagna. And then a whole bunch of wording. Look how much writing I had to do in math class. This is ridiculous how much writing I actually had to do in math class. But anyway. But then here's another routing problem. Here's another routing problem where it was a system of aqueducts that had junction points. You had rivers and junction points, and you had to figure out the optimal routing. It was just really messed up because you had to get the cleanest water and the largest volume to the most people in the least amount of time, spending the least amount of money. But all of the stuff that I'm showing you in terms of routing problems is just a small introduction to this thing. I love this class. Stinking nailed that test. Actually, hold on a second. Show one quick thing. If I could find that actual page on here. There it is. Hold on. I'll zoom in right here. So for you guys that have taken either Prob Stat or AP Stat, I'll show you this. I actually did have to use statistics in this class, and you probably recognize some of this notation with a sigma and mu and the fact that I used a normal CDF right here. But I made one critical error. He didn't take any points off for it, but I made one critical error. I said each probability was calculated through normal CDF function. And he circled normal CDF function, and he put this thing down here that said, assuming the central limit theorem. And I'm like, oh, snap. I went ahead and used the normal CDF without actually checking my assumptions and conditions. Because I didn't check my assumptions and conditions, I couldn't assume that it was normal. I just went ahead and made that leap. But anyway, I digress. He didn't take any points off because everything else was perfect. But I nailed that test. Anyway, back to this. So let's go ahead. Let's actually take a look at part B. On the worksheet that I gave you guys, let's take a look at part B. I'm going to zoom in on that sucker. There we go. See if we can't do this thing here. So according to this, it says to find the Euler circuits, but then where necessary, Eulerize, using the least number of possible edges added. Okay? If I'm looking at this thing, I know for a fact that it's not a circuit. I know for a fact that it's not a circuit. In fact, if you looked at it closely, every single vertex up here is odd. Every single one. We want to try and Eulerize this by adding the least number of edges. the least number. Let me think. 1. I got it. Can you Eulerize this by adding 4 edges? Just 4 edges. Can you Eulerize this by adding 4 edges? Now, to make it a little bit more palatable, I'm going to add in some letters, simply because it's easier to say, okay, yes, I'm connecting this to this to this to this to this. There we go. So the question becomes, how do I Eulerize it? Remember, if you connect 2 edges, or I'm sorry, if you connect 2 vertices, both vertices add 1 to their degrees. There's also a ridiculous case. This case I would never suggest, but you could literally do this to every single edge, or every single vertice. Technically, that's an edge, but that would be ridiculous. Why would you do that? Because here, if you did that to every single one, you'd actually have to add 8 edges, and that clearly is not what we want. Yeah, I can do it in 4 edges. Can you do it in 4 edges or better? Yeah, that's the easiest way. There's more than one way. You could do the same thing down here if you wanted to. You could do the same thing up here if you wanted to. You could also do one where you connect these two, and these two. And then that should work as well, you know. But yeah, either way, you get 4 edges being added to this. Absolutely. And now it works. And now you could totally do a circuit. I don't know, I'm just going to try and do a circuit to kind of finish this out. So let's say I'm going to start at A to B to C to D. I'll go back to A one more time for funsies. I'll go to H. I'll go to D again. I'll go up to E. I'll go to H. I'll go to G. I'll go to C. I'll go to F. I'll go to B. I'll go to G. I'll go to F. Go to E. Back to A. Nailed it. I love it. Such a weird routing problem. But again, there's a reason why they call it circuits, you know, because if let's say if you ever seen like a house get built or something like that, they have to wire the house. And they have to do it in an optimal way where you're not going to have wires all over the place and you're going to keep things safe. Anyway, we'll pick up with more of this on Wednesday, and then it'll be spring break. There's the bell. If you haven't left a comment in the chat, I see the 1, 2, 3, 4 of you that have left comments so far. Please make sure that you do so, and I'll see you guys all whenever.